All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk or Go Home. My name is Nick Wilson. We got Clint, Thompson, and David Murphree, and we have a special guest on today for today's episode. It's somebody that's been, I guess, he's actually been in this studio a lot, but it's never been for this. It's Jay Stewart, man. Welcome, D-Men. Welcome in. Yes. Welcome in, Jay. How are you?
I'm not going to tell you what that almost sounded like because it.
Oh yeah. That's
D-Men.
Yeah.
There we go. But anyway, it's good to be here with you guys. I've been really looking forward to this. A little nervous.
Yeah.
Don't know what you guys are going to.
It's probably because you're
at
sitting
me.
next to me, but that's
Well,
you know.
You have that effect.
I do.
Sometimes you don't know what's going to come out of their mouths, and that's what's scary.
That's what makes it a good podcast.
Yeah, there it is. He's caressing me, and I'm uncomfortable. But welcome in, Jay. So I think I pitched this idea to them not too long ago, and then I talked to you on the phone about it. But you've got a lot of you've lived a lot of life. You know,
I'm old.
Wait a minute.
You look 10 years younger than what you actually are.
Well, I don't know
So,
about all that.
And you look 20 years younger than me.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No,
How
no,
old
no.
are you, Clint? 38.
I will be 38 at the end of the month.
And you look 58.
Thank you.
I didn't say that,
Thank
Clint.
you.
I
Guys,
appreciate
if
you got a
you-
baby face, man. What are you talking about?
They just had a moment right
Yeah, they
there.
did.
If you don't know what we look like, you can watch this on YouTube and Spotify. Check us out. You can check out the video version of this podcast on YouTube and Spotify. They release on the same day. We're also available in audio form on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen, including Amazon Music. So check us out on all the different podcast platforms. Leave us a rate and review. It actually helps us get promoted on those platforms. We do appreciate it. And we also have a bonus program, a bonus show called Triple Threat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where the three of us, excluding Jay, sit down and we talk about some of the stories that we cannot legally tell on Talk or Go Home episodes because they're behind a paywall. For 99 cents a month, you get full access to all of our episodes with all kinds of information. All of our Triple Threat episodes, like some of the stories that are, you know, for legal reasons have to be behind a paywall. Not that they're bad or illegal.
It's just the statute of limitations hasn't run out yet or something?
Well, I mean, they're getting close.
Some of them.
They're getting close. No, but it's a really cool behind-the-scenes content, and those episodes of those Triple Threat episodes release every 2 weeks in between our Talk or Go Home episodes. So it's 1 week of Talk or Go Home, 1 week of Triple Threat, 1 week of Talk or Go Home, 1 week of Triple Threat.
So for 99 cents a month, you're going to get 20 episodes a season.
Exactly. 20, that's double the amount that you would get otherwise.
Right.
We do 10 episodes of Talk or Go Home. If you pay 99 cents a month, you're basically going to get 20 episodes. So we really do appreciate that, guys. 99 cents doesn't sound like a lot, but
Couch change.
It really is to us, as he says, couch change. Your couch change means a lot.
It does.
Okay?
It does.
I'm going to buy it.
So am I,
Sold.
actually. I'm going to subscribe.
Yeah, same.
So, I mean, $12 a year.
We're $3 in the hole.
Yeah, exactly. The advertising money from Young Life
Duco Transmissions.
isn't necessarily paying the bills. So, but if you would like to sponsor, holler at us.
Looking at you, Tabasco.
Yeah, looking at you, Tabasco. Check out our Tabasco episode, by the way, with Tom. Was that with Tom?
That's Tom.
Tom Lamb. And then we did the Hot Wing episode too.
Yep.
But all right, Jay, we've self-promoted enough. Now we're actually going to focus on you, our guest, because we asked you here, and you're probably bored of our self-promotion.
No, I'm having a ball.
We made him sign something that where he agreed that he would say that on air anyway. But thank you for coming in. You traveled all the way from basically Montgomery, Alabama, to a certain degree to be here.
To a certain degree, yes.
Kind of, in a way.
Yes, Prattville, to be specific.
Yeah. The Prattville Lions. When you say Prattville, I immediately think of the Prattville Lions, coached by Bill Clark.
I immediately think of the Chipotle that's there off of I-65. That's just me.
Yes,
Well,
I know
I mean-
right where you're talking about.
Yeah, you would.
Across
I
the
would.
street from Cracker Barrel.
That is. And Bass Pro Shops.
Yes.
Not sponsors.
Yeah, none of them are sponsors. If any of you want to be, let us know. Hit us up on social media at Talk or Go Home. Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and TikTok.
etc.
Check out our TikTok. Have you seen our TikTok?
I've seen like one or two. I'm not much of a TikToker,
Okay.
but I have seen something. I can't even remember.
Nobody knows what
I'm
it is
glad
either.
that we left a great impression.
Yeah, well,
You know?
those little snippets are usually pretty good. You can really go down a rabbit hole on
Yes.
TikTok. Callie got me on that.
Ooh.
So
Yeah, I remember when TikTok came out, she was still a student here, and she was always trying to film TikToks, and she always wanted me to be in them. And I'm like, I don't know if this is legal or not.
yeah, her
So-
and her comrades there on different sports teams were making a lot of
Oh, yeah.
TikToks through the
I
last
saw
year or
one
two.
the other day with Candy. She had Candy on there with the shirt.
Yeah, I don't even know. I'm kind of. I'm usually about a week behind on those.
could
kind
have
of
I think
been.
I heard your voice in the background.
You probably did. I don't know
Turn that
what I
phone
was
off.
saying. I have no idea.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But so you speaking of Callie, your daughter.
Yes.
You have another son, Nate. Shout out to Nate. Nate just graduated from Auburn.
yes,
Callie's at JSU.
that's correct.
Nate is about to get married.
That is correct.
He's engaged.
Yes, right.
Callie's in a sorority. I'm just jumping back and forth.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
FAMU.
obviously.
that's correct.
Shout out to you, Callie. I know you're probably, I don't know, she might not listen
She
to
may
this.
not,
Yeah,
probably
she
not.
probably won't.
Yeah.
She's a
Yeah, I don't know
college.
if she's on a.
We're a bunch of old.
She's a
people
college.
now.
Yeah, she's a college student.
she's not
She's
a
already got
podcaster yet.
podcast,
Yeah.
I'll send her the episode, and
She
she'll,
needs to see it.
she'll tell me she'll watch it or listen to it, and then she probably won't. But just to be nice, she'll
Yeah.
be like, yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
If I send her a TikTok clip, she'll watch it.
Yeah, that she will do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I do want to talk about them, the kids. Now we
Oh,
already
I
brought it
can't
up.
wait.
Yeah.
Do we want to just get into this?
Let's get into. Let's
it.
dive in.
All right.
We're
well,
there.
I'll
Go.
just go ahead and tell you what I'm going to say about Callie and
There's
Nate.
no telling what's going to happen.
But Callie, well, see, Nate's oldest.
Yes.
He come through first. But and I made a reference one day in
I remember
class.
this.
Yeah, I know where we're going.
I knew that your kids have been raised right when I made this reference.
I assume your kids have been raised right.
Yeah.
And I made a reference to something about Jerry Clower, a Jerry Clower reference in class. And Nate was on one that got it.
Yeah.
So I knew right then he'd been raised up right
There was another one
on
too.
that.
I thought it was the other one.
Well, there was a Jerry Clower one. There's
Yeah.
also one where you referenced FDR, and Nate said
Oh, yeah.
Franklin Delano Romanowski
Yeah.
from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and you
another.
said that's
yeah, I
right.
remember. Yeah,
but
I
it was
remember.
the first one was the Jerry Clower, which my kids have been fed a steady diet of dad jokes their whole life, and also Jerry Clower and a little bit of Andy Griffith sprinkled in there.
Yeah,
and,
that Franklin Delano Romanowski. I remember that now. That was good too. I knew he'd been brought up right on that. But Kirkmeyer, I think, was she older
Emma.
than Nate?
Emma Kirkmeyer.
Was she
yes.
older?
She was same grade.
Because I made a reference in that class one time to a chandelier, and that even if we had one here, nobody would even know how to play it.
That's right.
That was a Jerry Clower reference.
That's right.
And I thought she was going to pass out. She was just like, oh, this idiot history teacher doesn't even know what a chandelier is.
and she missed
But
it
it was
totally.
a Clower reference. Then Nate got that.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he's probably one of the most well-read people I've ever been around. I mean, he thinks he is. But Nate probably is. Nate always...
I'm going to leave.
Hey, not in that conversation is this guy.
Now he always had books reading all the time. And I actually bought a couple of those books. I brought them with me. One's about gunfighters, and the other one was that Revenant book. I bought those.
yes,
I
yes.
bought those books because of Nate
Okay.
reading those. And, but he was very well read. Now, Callie,
Can I interject on
Yeah.
that, Nate, real quick? Just real quick. I've got a story. So Nate comes up to me one day in church and says, "Nick, I've got a book I want you to read." And I've actually just finished reading it. Probably, I think I've recommended it on the podcast. Actually, I think I have. It's one of the best novels I've ever read. It's a historical fiction about a young kid in Italy who falls in love with this Jewish girl. He's working for the Nazis, and he's conflicted about how to navigate this.
I think you
I've
have.
recommended this on the podcast
Yeah.
before. Actually, I can't think. It's like Midnight something. I can't.
Was this one of the ones from his book club that
With David
With
Housel?
with David Housel. That was
think
one of the
so.
coolest things he did at Auburn. And you're right. Nate had always loved to read, and I'll credit 100% that to Candy.
Your wife, your lovely
My
wife.
wife, yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to my wife, Candy. And she was so big. She would buy them books every time we went to the store where there were books to buy. She would buy them books, and they loved to read. And Nate and Callie both read a lot, and they actually read out of enjoyment. I've never really been great at that. I've become more of that since I've gotten a little older. But man, when I hate to confess this, especially if there's any chance that my English teachers from high school listening, but I was more of a skimmer and cliff note and listen to what everybody else has said about the book and try to figure it out, kind of, which is not anything to brag about. But that's what happened.
Good enough.
Now, Nate was in a book club with David Housel. That was president, right?
Athletic director.
Athletic director.
What? He was in a book club with him?
Yes. So he went through the honors college, and there were a few things he had to do extra. And one of those, he had 2 different semesters. He did Auburn Book Club, and it was taught by David Housel. And they would get a book assigned, they would read the book, and they would gather at a coffee shop or one of the classrooms or wherever, I'm not sure exactly where they'd meet, and just discuss the book.
That's pretty cool.
What a neat guy. David Housel is a really well-read guy, pretty broad, and he loved historical fiction kind of stuff. And Nate would tell me about these different ones, and so he liked that.
Well, when I was there, it was honors seminar.
Okay.
And David Housel wasn't offering those when I was down
Well,
there,
how many
so I didn't
people
get
was
to
in
take
this
it, but
club they were in? How many people was in
I'm
it?
really not sure. I don't think it was that many, honestly. It was maybe less than 20.
But that's a real neat experience.
It really was. Housel would tell stories, from the war stories of Bear Bryant days and Pat Dye and Terry Beasley and those kind of guys. I mean, he had some great stories. And, of course, they would actually talk about the books more than they did some of the Auburn history of football and that kind of stuff. And of course, he had a lot more than just football, being the athletic director. But yeah, that was one of his little perks.
Well, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
It is.
Right. What have Nate's picks on here?
Yeah, we should.
Now let me say one thing about Callie, and then y'all just have it. Now she was probably in the best class I've ever had here at Asheville. I know they think they were, but she was probably the best. Now that bunch I had. They all had their expertise, and I've thought about this a lot. That you could have given them any task, and they would have found a way to get it done. That bunch that she was in. I mean, even if I think they could have murdered somebody and got away with it,
which they didn't, by the way.
Which they could, though they didn't, but they could. But she was in probably the best class I've ever had.
Well, peanut butter on the brake line.
She would come home so many times, and she would say, "Dad, I'm convinced we're Coach Murphy's favorite class ever."
Mm-hmm.
She would say that all the time.
Yeah.
And something about maybe have a honey bun party or no, was it
we had moon pies all year long, every day, pizza, field trip, everything. But see, I didn't realize that when they first came in there that they were going to be that great. Class. So I wasn't real good.
I didn't think much of them.
When they come in, I didn't think much. But then
it's going to be just like the others.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be another year. But then they were. But I mean, they really paid attention. They
He's
really
a great
listened.
educator.
And so I kind of felt bad. Later on, it hadn't been real good to them. So
I'm short.
Yeah, I tried to make it up.
Well, she loved it. Both my kids loved their time here at Asheville. I mean, and we'll get into this a little bit later on, I suppose. But it's been such a blessing, honest to goodness, to be here in this school system. And Callie was in middle school actually when we got here 8 years ago, and Nate had just started the high school. Well, he was in 9th grade, so he hadn't even actually started. So your class was one of the first introductions to the culture. I put those air quotes if you're not watching.
Well, how familiar were you with Asheville before you got here? I know you had some kin folks here, right?
Yeah, so Candy was a lot more familiar. I really wasn't. My dad actually worked in Asheville back in the early 80s, and so I'd heard of Asheville, and I'd ridden through the town square. That was about it. I lived in Southside, and I would come through Rainbow City and down 411 every now and then to go to the interstate just because I liked the drive, and that was about my extent.
Now, he worked in Asheville, you said? Or
my dad did for a little while.
Where did he work in Asheville?
Well, he worked for Amoco Oil. Mickey Farmer had posted a thing on what's happening in Asheville on the Facebook page about the leasing of land and stuff that went on back then. My dad was a landman, is what they called it. He did oil and mineral rights in this area, leasing land. It would have been around 82, 3, 4, right around in there. maybe 80. I'm not really sure exactly the years. So he had a little office there just off the square right behind the where the Pocket Park is now.
Yeah,
It was right
yeah,
around in there. So that's, and of course, then Candy's family, Mom and Dad both graduated from Asheville.
She just showed up, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
She's here to watch.
She's over here.
Shout out to Candy.
Jimmy and
Again.
Carol, and of course the rest of her aunts and uncles and everybody, was raised here in Asheville. And Carol was homecoming queen here, and Jimmy was, Jimmy drove a school bus. He was still in school when he drove that school bus. I mean, things were a little different back then in the 50s. But anyway, deep roots here in the town and that type of thing. In fact, the day that Candy and I got engaged, we went down to Slasham Road over there and picked some pecans and asked him if I could marry her. So we definitely had some roots here. But I really didn't know, a lot of folks. In fact, outside of Gay Adkins, I didn't know anybody really in Asheville that I could think of. Now, I was a youth pastor. The first church I ever served at White Springs, just up the road in Rainbow City. And Holly Engel, who was drum major here back in the mid-90s.
Mid-2000s.
Yeah, she graduated in 02 maybe?
304 probably.
03, 04, yeah. So late 90s, early 2000s, she was here. And I remember coming to a ball game because she was marching. Yeah, one of the Sanders boys I remember was punting the ball back then. I'd never seen anybody punt it like him. Good gracious. I was
98,
like, what
99 then.
Yeah, okay.
Matthew.
It was right in there.
Yeah,
So yeah, we had a little bit of history there with some of the stuff. So that's
Well, I'm sorry that I was one of the first impressions on you and your kids. I know that was shocking. Does anything else stand out in your mind when you got here as the pastor? Any memory you had when you first got here?
Yeah. So
anything else?
Yeah, the very first memory, we came for what the Baptist churches call it in view of a call. You go and have a trial weekend, so to speak, and that was the weekend of Tunes Around Town. So my first introduction of Asheville was they did a fireworks show for us that night, and
All for me.
I know. Well, I used to give Sammy Hodges, who had come just about a month or two earlier to the Methodist church. I always gave him a hard time about that because I said,
"Hey, $25 value pack."
Yeah, well, no, this was the big one over town. I mean, it was a
good one.
It was a good one. Yeah.
Like a day after Thanksgiving, after 4th of July.
Yeah, so
we love our Thanksgiving around here.
Yeah, that's right. We shoot fireworks
for Thanksgiving.
turkey and fireworks. That's right.
Turkey sandwiches.
So it was one of the better ones that they had I think that year on the Tunes Around Town. So it was actually a good intro. So that was like right out of the gate, and Coach Martin was the coach back then, and I went out to practice pretty quick. He actually came by my office and found out we had a common connection. A good friend of mine, lifelong friend, who's a coach, Mickey Kahn, had been on the team when Coach Martin was the strength coach, and so that just opened the door up for me to kind of have a good ministry. Of course, Brother James, the pastor First Baptist before me, had been the chaplain for the football team. So there was a little bit of a precedent, I guess you'll say, because he'd been there for 17 years doing that. And when Coach Martin opened up that door, that was really just kind of the introduction to this area of saying, hey, we welcome you in. And I do want to say this because sometimes small towns get a reputation for being a little closed off to newcomers. And, I can't speak for every newcomer in Asheville, but I think it's true. But for us, we were welcomed with open arms. I mean, folks just loved on us from day one. I do want to tell you a quick funny story. We had gone down to the pizza place that's kind of switched hands a little bit a time or two since then, and I'm trying to remember even what it was called.
Fox's.
It was Fox's. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It was Fox's. So
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. Not even a thing.
No.
Not in existence. Yeah.
Not in existence. So we were sitting there eating pizza, and it was me and Nate and Callie and Candy, and then Jimmy and Carol were there. My brother-in-law Jamie and his wife Karen were there, I believe, and Cindy was there, my sister-in-law. And
did they have that many seats?
They did. We had them all.
All right.
We had them all. But, I had those big windows, and there was like a family standing outside pointing, and I could read their lips. He goes, there they are. There they are. So those are some
Just
of the
like
memories.
you got off the bus in Mayberry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So those
yeah.
are some of the memories I have from first coming, to
So
Asheville.
I think we need to provide a little context for those of our listeners that aren't from around here, like our listeners in Germany and the United
Yeah.
Kingdom and China.
I can't translate, but keep going.
Yeah.
Trinidad and Tobago.
Toboggan?
That-
so-
Toboggan?
Trinidadians and Tobaggans.
And toboggans. Oh my gosh. So Jay, you are in ministry. That's what you've
That's
done
right.
most of your. You when I said D min MIN D period MIN at the beginning of the episode, that was to denote your profession, which you're in Christian ministry.
That's
and
right.
You were my. Well, actually, no, you weren't. You came right after I graduated, but you were the chaplain of our football team, where we're all from, and then you pastored, amongst many other things that you did here in where we're all from, the local First Baptist Church, First Baptist Asheville,
Right.
for 7 years, 8 years,
8 years.
8 years.
Well, a month shy of 8 years.
8 years.
We came
yeah.
in July, as I
That's
mentioned,
right, yeah.
and so I ended at the beginning of June, second week in June. So just about a month shy of 8 years.
And you've already kind of hinted at it, but football and sports in general have played a big role in all of that. You were in Georgia for a time, right?
That's right.
And kind of talk about like how you've gotten to this point and some of the winding road
Yeah.
that you've been on.
Goodness, I'll try to be as brief as I can with this. Yeah, exactly. So I'll go back to 1972. January.
Where's Mickey Farmer?
January
Yeah,
5th.
Take him back to the 70s.
There was a sleet that day. No. Going all the way back to the late 90s, I had always had an idea when I was doing student ministry that the local high school was, the greatest opportunity to get to know students. And so every school that was near where I was serving, I would try to be available to those teachers and the administration and the students to help, to be a minister. Yeah. And so whatever was opportunities were available. Now, when I was at White Springs, most of our students were in the band. So I'd go to band practice once or twice a week, check them out. But I was the team chaplain for Brian Mintz at Southside High School. That was my first opportunity to do that. And not long after that, we moved to Georgia. We moved I was at White Springs from 1997 until 2003. And so in 2003, we moved to Loganville, Georgia. Loganville was
It's home of the Fighting Shaman Rose.
Well, that is part
That
of
is a weird connection. I do want to
part
know
of the
about this.
story. So the first 3 years or so I was there in Loganville, and we had a high school that was connected to our youth ministry that most of the students went to. But some of them went to Loganville. Some of them went to Grayson High School. Loganville was partly in Walton County and partly in Gwinnett County. So it was a little bit of an odd situation there.
It is an odd
Part of the
situation.
city, depending on where you live. We lived in the county. We were out in the country, and those city folks like the Monroes were over there in Gwinnett County. In the big, there's like 1 million people in Gwinnett County. So first little while I was over there, the majority of our students played for Loganville High School, and so Eric Godfrey, who's now the coach at Parkview High School, one of the big powerhouses over there in the metro Atlanta area. But anyway, I was his chaplain, and then Coach Kahn, Mickey Kahn, was the head coach at Grayson High School, where Shay Monroe graduated from, played tight end for Coach Kahn. And through some conversations with Mickey, I ended up moving over to Grayson and being their chaplain. And so when we moved back to Gadsden, I'll fast forward a little bit and skip just a tiny bit there. When we moved back to Gadsden in 2009, sometime that spring of 2010, I believe it might have been 2011, somewhere in there, we had gone to some event, and I ended up at Lincoln High School, and I saw Shay Monroe, and it kind of blew my mind because I hadn't seen him in a few years.
Yeah.
And I recognized him, but I couldn't. You know, when you see somebody out of,
place
I mean, it was
yeah.
another state and another kind of part of my life that I had.
Whole different world almost.
Yeah, a whole different world. And so he knew me right away, though, because he remembered me. And, of course, you know, Grayson had over 100 players on the team, and I'm not saying I didn't know him because I did know him, but it just caught me off guard. And so we talked a little bit at some other times that I saw him later, and I even apologized the next time. I was like, hey, man, I'm sorry I didn't recognize you last time. It'd been so long. And so fast forward a little bit more, Coach Monroe ends up coming on staff here at Asheville High School, and where by that time our family had moved. We came back in 2014 here, and been a little bit of coaching turnover, we'll say. So Coach Monroe's on staff, and I'm like, this is wild stuff, you know, to go from being associated with him as team chaplain at a place where he played, and now being, you know, had the privilege and opportunity to be his team chaplain as offensive coordinator, and then eventually as head coach here at Asheville. And so it just, I don't know. You know, you say it's a small world, but my goodness, I mean,
that just kind of proves it.
It's just a wild kind.
I love that story.
Kind of deal.
Yeah.
It's fun. You know, and of course he and Coach Kahn are still close, and of course Mick and I have been friends, like I said, since we were about 7 years old. Met on a football field a long time ago. So
Well, that's what I wanted you to talk about too. Was Mickey Kahn? Now
Yeah.
y'all went to school together.
we did. Well, you know, it's a funny thing. We actually never went to school together. It's weird. I grew up in Southside, as I mentioned. My mom was a school teacher. She taught kindergarten for about 32, 33 years at Gaston, up in North Gadsden, the Gaston Bulldogs, 2A.
Gaston. I'm
Gaston.
familiar with that. I got kicked on the sidelines. There when the worst I've ever been hurt. In
Oh,
the
wow.
shin. Ooh, on the sideline.
Yeah.
Go ahead, though.
Yeah, so in elementary school, now
Man, that hurt. Go ahead.
I did go
I feel it right now.
one year.
Shins.
We went
All right.
1 year to school together at John Jones in first grade. And I went to Gaston in second through sixth grade. And Mickey was at Southside Elementary where his mom taught it. Well, John Jones and then Southside Elementary. But we played for the Golden Hawks. And Candy was actually a cheerleader for the Golden Hawks. And back then,
Golden Hawks.
Pee Wee football, you know, had A team, B team, C team. I played on the C team and all that kind of stuff. I'm moving on up a little bit from there with the Golden Hawks. Now, Southside, where I lived, actually had the Silver Hawks. But I kind of got a little bit recruited, you know how that works, back to Rainbow City to play with the Golden Hawks. And I wanted, you know, I mean, if you're picking gold and silver, I mean, come on. I was a Golden Hawk.
Yeah.
And our jerseys, y'all, they look like the Rams.
Yeah.
Now, why the Rams, I'm not really sure, but we had a blue set of horns right here on the sideline. Our helmets were yellow.
You were the Hawks?
We were the Golden Hawks.
The
We
Gol-
were
the
gold
Golden
and blue, or yellow and blue.
Yeah.
And so there was a blue Rams.
Wing?
I don't know if it was a
Alright.
wing. It looked like a Ram's horn
The
to
Blue
me.
Golden Hawks Rams.
So anyway,
Ram
that's
Hawks.
where
Ram Hawks.
Mickey and I met, and you know, we had talked about going to school together and play. Of course, we played baseball and with the Cardinals, and then we played Golden Hawk football together.
Yeah.
And we played RA basketball together, which was a foul fest. I mean,
Yeah, some of the
I
worst
mean, I'm
basketball
talking
ever.
some hack.
Yeah, hacking, fights, everything.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's a
anyway,
good thing you prayed before the game.
that's
you know?
right. Yeah, if not, you know, we might have been arrested or something. But anyway, so that's kind of the connection. Mickey's dad took a job in the Gwinnett County area back when we were moving into sixth grade, and so he moved away. By the way, we'd gone to church together too. We went to Southside Baptist Church together. So we just had a lot of.
But that's how you got that Clemson.
That's how,
connection,
yeah.
right? Mickey
So
Kahn and Dabo.
yes, so
at Alabama.
Mickey
They were at
Mickey
Alabama.
graduated from South Gwinnett High School in 1990, same year I did. Were you a 90 graduate?
89.
89.
High school.
Okay,
I
well,
remember them when they were at Alabama.
Yeah, so Mickey walked on at Alabama, played on the 92 national championship team.
Would
ended
he
up-
always lead the team?
He
onto
would.
the field?
He would.
That's one thing
he
I remember about
He made
yeah.
sure to go out
He
first.
was first, yeah. all
He
right.
made sure to go out first. He had some good times there. He still got, of course, obviously the championship ring, and he ended up winning the Bear Bryant Walk-On Award, getting a scholarship. You know, everybody has their little pet peeves back during that time, and I don't want to offend anybody with this little pet peeve of mine because, well, you'll understand
It's
here in a
Alabama
second.
football.
No.
Okay.
It doesn't have anything with Alabama football, but the movie Rudy came out around the time Mickey was playing at Alabama, and there were people making the comparison. It kind of made me mad because Rudy, I think, got in for one play. I mean,
And he was offsides.
yeah,
And he was
Yeah.
offsides. I'm going to call
right,
it.
yeah. So I mean, Mick lettered for 3 years and
yeah.
earned a scholarship, and I mean, there were games
He was
where
a contributor. He was
Yeah.
a major contributor.
his senior year he played as a nickel back and went in. I mean, I remember Tennessee had the ball down inside the 2 minutes with Peyton Manning at quarterback, and if they score a touchdown, they win the game. Mick's on the field, so I mean, he didn't get scrap time. I mean, he played. Now he wasn't. You'd have to be a little bit of a hardcore Alabama fan to have known.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was the connection that we had, and then so after he had finished his time at Grayson, he moved on to Clemson, and now he's the defensive coordinator there. And interestingly enough, of course, I know this is a worldwide broadcast, but there is
That's good.
no, it is. We'll call it what it is. But-
Germany, baby.
That's right. Guten Tag or
Good.
whatever.
Good
So-
morning if you're listening
So
to it in the
Mick's
morning.
family, his dad and uncle are from Gallant. So they lived out in Gallant on the Etowah County side up there. Went to Etowah High School, and so he's got a lot of cousins, and he's related to the Cones. I'm gonna leave some folks out if I start naming
people, yeah.
folks, but I know he's got some.
Mickey's up there, and Gross is up there.
John
now.
John and Gross is there.
up there, who is from here, who you coached with.
Yeah, now that night at Gaston, now that I think about it,
Oh.
it was a jamboree game, I
Okay.
think. Now, Russ Probst was the head coach here.
Oh.
Gross had been on sidelines, too.
man.
There's
I
an
was
episode.
there, and I did get, that's the worst I ever got hurt on sideline. But one other thing that happened, it's just coming to my mind just a while ago. Our running back that night, he was running the ball, and he would probably score, but he didn't have his mouthpiece in. So he had his head down the whole time he was running the ball, trying to put his mouthpiece in. That game, too. So I don't know, that just popped in my head. That happened that night, too.
Clint Hathcock's also related to Mick.
Clint Hathcock's
yeah.
related to most people.
Yeah, well,
Shout out to you, Clint.
That's good. Yeah, but Coach Gross, I went up to one of their spring practices here not too long ago, and got a chance to talk with Coach Gross. He looked good and a little different, seeing him in orange and purple. But and to be honest, it was pretty interesting seeing Mick and Dabo in those colors too, because they're crimson.
A lot of Alabama ties up there, and Clemson won a national championship in 1980.
Well, that was Danny
I think.
Ford.
That was
Danny
Danny
Ford.
Ford.
Yeah.
He was from Gaston.
He was from Gadsden. Yep, went to Gadsden High.
So,
Small world.
well, and speaking of that,
after all.
so Clemson, we just had one of our kickers go up to a camp up there.
That's right.
And he won the kicking competition. and
showed
has
out.
has since been ranked by Cole's kicking camps. He's a 4-star kicker, actually. He's the 3rd-ranked kicker in the state of Alabama.
It's awesome.
But
I had no idea. How about that?
He won another one here
breaking-
recently.
breaking
Kicked a
news.
52-yarder.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's
at Gadsden City.
Yeah.
He won that kicking camp. But anyway, so I was talking with his dad, and John Gross talked to him. Their special teams coordinator talked to him. Mickey Kahn mentioned something to Dabo about him at the meeting, and so did John. Anyway, so we're talking. Apparently, his great-great-grandfather helped found Clemson University. So
did not know
there's
that.
numerous local ties with Clemson
Okay.
University. You Clemson fans out there, you wouldn't have anything if it weren't for us. So just know that.
I did not know that. Interesting stuff. That's my Johnny Carson. So sorry.
I'm just
Nobody
joking.
listening even knows who Johnny
Well,
Carson is. You know.
Ed
Oh, I
McMahon,
love Johnny Carson.
Yeah. Karnak.
Karnak the
Yes.
Magnificent.
You remember the potato chip episode where we had the potato chip? The
No,
ladies' potato chips? That was her life's work,
Yeah.
collecting those potato chips that looked like
Yes.
Theodore Roosevelt and everything. And
Abraham Lincoln.
And he had some hid behind him, and they were looking at him. And you don't remember that?
I do remember that.
Yeah. Oh God, Johnny Carson. But no, Clemson's beautiful, man.
It's
Like
beautiful.
they got something special. They have something special. Like they say, they have something special up in those hills.
Yeah.
It's a really cool place.
Don't they consider that like the sister school to Auburn for some reason or another?
So-
Like some
lot of-
founder or something. There's a lot of
So-
similarities.
A lot of similarities.
The main architect of the
I didn't want you to go into
the
it. Keep going,
central
Jay.
the central part of campus is the same architect that designed the central part of Auburn's campus. And they're both small, cool downtowns. People call Clemson Auburn with a lake. That's how I've always
Land
heard.
grant universities,
Yeah,
Tigers.
Orange Tiger. Yeah, so there's a lot of.
Although their
common play.
Tiger
Their tiger, looks like
their
it's been
tiger
on
mascot
LSD.
needs a little work.
Yeah.
He looks like he's got some kind of.
Like he's been run over.
He has an addiction problem.
Yeah,
I think.
it looks like he's been run over.
Yeah.
Yeah. That big.
He looks like he's been.
Petting that rock one.
He looks like he's been
eyes.
shot at 9 times by Clint. That's an inside joke.
Hell that.
That's for the paywall. That's the paywall thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It is though.
Yeah,
it is.
it
Listen
is.
to a triple threat if you want to know that
I
story.
have an idea now.
You may record that today.
So you and Mickey, back to what my original purpose of going down that rabbit hole. You and Mickey are really, really close,
We are.
right?
Yeah.
How the reason I wanted to sort of dive into that is I've always wanted to know, like, I've got friends, but I'm 26 years old. I know they do, that they've been close with their whole lives. But, like, what's it like to have somebody that you literally share your childhood with, that now you're both in your 50s, you still, like, you've basically watched each other grow up.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Yeah, it's I'm an only child, first of all, and so sports was and sports and church were probably the two biggest, time spenders in time, the ways that I invested my time in growing up and even since then. And so, it's one of those things where he and I just had a lot of things in common. The interesting thing to me was when he moved, we were going in, maybe even just toward the end of 5th grade, actually. So it was a little bit unusual for us to be able to keep in contact. I remember, back then I had to make long-distance phone calls,
Sure.
To keep in touch. But
you could dial long distance.
yeah, exactly. So, we've just been the type guys to, and we hadn't always been like super close in terms of living. He's lived in Georgia most of his life, and of course I've lived in Northeast Alabama most of mine. But the friendship there is just one of those where I can pick up the phone and call him and say, hey, look, I need you to be praying for me about this. He's when he was looking to make that move from high school to college, he contacted me and we talked through some of that kind of stuff. I was in his wedding, he was in my wedding. I don't have a biological brother, but he's like a brother to me. And their families, their family and our family are real close. Maybe not as much now that the kids have grown. And back when we were younger parents and their children were younger, we'd go on New Year's Eve to eat at a Chinese, one of those hibachi restaurants where they cook it in front of you. And I'll never forget the younger. He has two boys, Brody and Spencer. Spencer's the younger one. Spencer was probably 2 years old. I'm looking over a little bit of candy here. But anyway, they do that thing where they have the flaming deal. It just blows up. And he would cry every year for that for about 3 years. He would love me telling that story. But
Shout out to you,
but
Spencer.
I heard him one year when he got a little bit older. He said, "Is it going to do that again?" Because he remembered that. So we just have a lot of connections. And I when his grandmother passed away, I actually ended up preaching her funeral. His mom and dad, they're just like family. His sister and I are close as well, and so it's a special thing. You grow up and you have friends, and most of the time what we call friends are more like acquaintances, and they're good people, and they come into our life and they move out, but then you have some of those, probably you can count on one hand, that just they're there. And you may not go, you may not talk to them for a few days or weeks or maybe even at times months at a time. But then as soon as you pick up the phone, it's like, you just pick right back up into that friendship and that relationship. So.
Well, I just really actually just wanted you to talk about him. That way he'd listen to this and we could say the defensive coordinator of Clemson listened to our podcast.
Well,
I'm just kidding. I'm messing with you, man.
Wow.
Nick's always working on an angle.
Always.
I'm a used car salesman. No,
one.
I've never had the pleasure of having an extended conversation with Mickey. I got to meet him one time, and I think I told you that story when Auburn played Clemson at Clemson in it 2015 or 2016?
Yeah, my years run together on that, but they were down in Auburn. Not too awfully long ago, but it's seeming like longer and longer. But anyway.
This was at Clemson. This was when we went to Clemson.
Okay, yeah.
I think it was 2016, and I briefly ran up to him and shook his hand and told him I knew you, and he probably doesn't remember that interaction. But I thought it was really cool because I'm like, okay, that guy's from from like he's got hometown connections.
Yeah.
And that was cool for me.
Was
He
that
a super
the year?
nice guy.
Was that the year that Auburn played Clemson in the bowl game and turned around and played in the very first game the next year?
A little bit
That's
later.
earlier.
Yeah, a little bit later.
than
Yeah,
that.
that would have been post Nick Wilson. That was after my time.
Okay.
We played Clemson. I want to say it was somewhere in the middle of that 2016 season. And the previous year in 2015, they played us at Auburn in Jordan-Hare because that was the first season with the Jumbotron and all that good stuff. And they, we played them hard, I think, the first half, right? What are you laughing at? What'd he do?
Nothing.
I'm
It's
just listening. Go.
No, he didn't do anything. I'm laughing at you because we played them hard.
We did, but we lost.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's why can't you just say that? It's like we played 'em hard.
Jumbotron. I heard. I'm listening.
Yeah, so that
Jumbotron.
was the same year. As soon as we hadn't even had our first game in.
JSU.
No, it was before that. We were like still in fall camp. I go up. I'm working on I'm still a video guy at that point, and there's an air conditioning unit, many air conditioning units actually on top of the Jumbotron, and they've got electrical boxes coming off the sides of them that are the exact height of me. And I would come around a corner because I'm trying to go get an SD card to my boss, and I just, boom, right there on the hairline, just run into the bottom of an electrical box.
Hey, at least you
And
weren't
so-
electrocuted.
And it split my head wide open, and I'm just gushing. The head bleeds.
That's
I'm
what you
gushing
want right there at a
blood.
football game, though.
Well, so this was a scrimmage. Like this was fall camp.
That's what you want at scrimmage. Too.
So
Hey man, that video guy's hyped about this season.
yeah.
It's like, settle down, son.
I immediately go
A
downstairs.
little too fired up there.
And
get this guy some pads.
Well, my boss goes, like he sees me, and this is just you got to know him. He goes, "Are you serious? Get over to Doc." And so I go over to Doc, and I can't repeat what Doc said to me. But
Serious, Clark?
yeah. But they stitched me up. They had glue, and they had it was interesting. But I didn't know he was already at Clemson at that point in 2015
Yeah. That was his first year.
as an analyst, correct?
Analyst.
So he's gone from analyst to, was it safeties?
Analyst to
defensive backs?
safeties coach, special teams coordinator, and now defensive
Now
coordinator.
defensive coordinator. He replaced Brent Venables.
That's right.
Which-
There's
which
they have co-defensive coordinators.
Okay, gotcha.
Wes, my mind just went blank.
Wes somebody. Shout out to you, Wes.
Yes, shout out to Wes.
Imagine if they listen to this in like a staff meeting at
Yeah.
Clemson. Like this.
I'm sure they will.
probably
I'm
won't.
sure they will.
I doubt it.
100.
But shout out to you, Dabo, Coach Sweeney,
And West.
and Wes.
and Wes.
Wes Goodwin. Thank you very
Wes
much.
Goodwin.
Yes.
Wes Goodwin.
I was gonna say Blankenship, but he's a Twitter guy. But anyway,
He's funny.
He is.
He
funny.
is funny. He is
Yeah,
funny.
but Wes and Mickey are doing that together as co-defense coordinators, and I've met Wes, a great guy, and he evidently is brilliant, like a photographic type of memory kind of guy. So
I want to ask you, because we're on the subject.
Yes.
This is why I've sort of been leading us into football.
all right,
You were here as our chaplain for 8 years.
that's right, 8 seasons.
I have had the pleasure, as well as Clint and him at a different point in time, but we have had the pleasure of being on staff with you as our chaplain. There was I don't know, were you a coach when this happened? With this story do you know the story I'm about to tell? Do you know that story?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was the COVID season.
Were you there? You weren't on staff then, not 2020.
No, I wasn't.
That was the
I
year
wasn't,
before you came on.
right.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you know the story I'm about to tell?
I think I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
want you to tell the story.
Well, are we talking about where I nearly got like penalties and thrown out of the game?
Yeah.
and all that?
Yeah.
So some of this story,
The chaplain.
This
the
isn't-
chaplain.
this
some of this story
Well,
is,
this isn't going to hurt.
is kind of
You're-
fuzzy because
Okay.
you know how when you get so mad you kind of just blank
Yeah.
out on some
yeah,
stuff.
you rip your shirt off and stuff.
Yeah,
Let's
I
not call it
didn't
anger.
like to-
This is passion.
It was
You
passion.
rip
This is
your-
passion.
and gird your loins.
Yeah,
gird
something
your
like that.
loins and get ready.
Yes,
Exactly.
that's right. That's right. So we had a game, and there was a couple of
I'm sorry,
guys
Jay.
on the sidelines that throughout the years, that just weren't quite
Yeah.
up to the level that they needed to be. And this guy, if I'm not mistaken, now I may be crossing up a couple of guys because there was a few. There were multiple candidates for this, but this guy was terrible. He was awful, and so he had already made several kind of questionable calls and acted kind of silly on the sideline. I don't think it was the guy that I used to call. Well, you remember the guy on Night Court?
Yes.
Bull.
Yes.
There was one of those
bailiff.
There was one of those referees that looked that way, and he just kind of ran, like a robot almost, and he looked like Bull. But I don't think that was him.
He's the Parks and Rec director in Rainbow City, actually.
Is he? Well, my apologies. So anyway, this guy, he's already made a couple of bad calls, and so we had a play on the sideline where Dylan Harris had been hit. Questionably after the play, it in my opinion should have been a penalty on the kid from the other team, and I don't even remember what school it was.
I do, but we're not going to say it.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, borderline call. The kid not only hit him late, out of bounds, he shoved him. So Foo, as everybody called him, Dylan turns around and said something. I don't think he said it. I was standing right there. Whatever he said, it wasn't very loud because I didn't even hear him. But he acted aggressively toward him, but he didn't actually, in fairness, Dylan had done some things in the past, but in this case, he actually didn't really do anything. Well, the official was turned with his back. Somehow he missed all this. So he didn't throw a flag. He turns around right as Dylan is coming at him a little bit, and he throws a flag up in the air for double unsportsmanlike penalties.
Yeah.
Offsetting double unsportsmanlike. And I just lost my mind. And I said, tell me what you saw. He goes, well, I didn't see it. And I said, then why are you throwing a flag? And y'all, I can't begin to describe the anger that came over me that night. I maybe am trying to make this sound better, but it really was a terrible call. And it was against us. And here was a kid playing hard, didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And gets a penalty for it simply because the official just wanted to insert himself in the game.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty hot. I go away. I walk up the sideline. I mean, I know my face was red.
I remember because you were walking towards me.
I was
being scared.
so mad. I had to get away because I had already screamed. I mean, like as loud as I could at him.
Your face was intense.
And Coach Monroe, to his credit, at the first incident, didn't really say anything.
Because this is his first game, by the way. First game as Asheville's head coach.
Yeah.
So then we go back down the field, and there was a play close to the goal line.
2-point play. They had jumped off sides right before we decided to go
and there
for
was
two.
a fumble, and anyway, the call went against us again. and Mickey had it on video. He missed that call too. Same guy. Same sideline, same, goof up. Cost us a 2-point conversion. I'm glad you remember that because I thought it was a touchdown. Like I said, my memory on this is a little fuzzy. I remember throwing my hands up and just screaming again. Now, I'm out of the coach's box, which I'm not technically a coach. So
you can be.
But I had on all the stuff that the coaches did. As far as he was concerned,
you were a coach.
I was a coach, and I was just screaming at him. And to his credit, the only thing he really did well that night is not throw me out of the game. And actually I saw him. He put his hand on the flag, and I immediately walked away. And I think he saw me react to that and maybe cut me a little slack. And I apologized to Coach Monroe at the beginning of the second half. I said, Coach, I promise I'm not going to get you a penalty. I almost did. Although for the record, I would not have been the first pastor of First Baptist to get a flag.
No, you would not.
James Sampley got a flag for barking.
Barking.
I was at that game. I was on the sidelines.
So, anyway.
I guess that's 15-yarder, too.
It is.
Oh, it is.
What he got.
And I think he got asked to leave the sideline that night.
I think so.
Yeah.
He was good, though. He rode the bus to the game back there.
Yeah.
He was good. Now,
He
did get. You
experience.
should have went ahead and got that penalty. Hey, Dick Burleson, the general. I read his book, and this is one thing that always stuck with me if I was ever an official. He said he'd always tell officials in the SEC when they were doing their preseason meetings, you don't have to call everything you see, but you better see everything you call.
That's a good line.
That is.
That's perfect. Yeah. Well, this guy called something he absolutely didn't see. And I asked him, I kept quizzing him. This was before the fumble. I was in his ear. I said, tell me what he said. I said, I know this kid.
Yeah, I'd have flagged you.
And I said, if you'll just tell me what he said, I'll leave you alone. And he never would. He didn't know what he said.
Yeah.
Well,
In fact, I don't even think he really said anything. He was just making up stuff.
Well, this was the 2020 season, and then I come on staff the 2021 season, and I remember this specifically because I was in the stands, and I'm screaming at the same ref about how terrible he is. So those that don't know, Coach Monroe had a headset in the first half, and he decided he's not calling plays. He's going to let somebody else call plays.
He handed it over to his OC.
Belly 36 G-Bob. We all know that. So at that time, Monroe is not with a headset anymore, and I'm screaming at the ref, just, "You're a terrible ref. I don't know where you got your zebra card." Just, I mean, every referee line you can come up with, I was hollering it. And about that time, there was kind of a break in the game, maybe a heat timeout or something. Monroe turns around and looks at me, and I'm in the stands at the time. He just looks at me and says, "I'm not wearing a headset, but I can pick you out of the stands over everybody here."
What's funny is we had met at a basketball game when you were doing the boingy boingy thing.
Right.
And so I didn't really know you.
It's a cheer.
It's a cheer.
That's right. I didn't really know you. Yes.
Thank goodness y'all cleared that.
Yeah.
Yes. Be very
We're going to have to
specific.
edit this.
Be
Oh my
very
gosh.
specific. So anyway, I remember.
Or the pogo stick.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do remember distinctly hearing your voice, and because I didn't really calm down, but I got quiet more so, and I thought, well, this guy, he's got it, so I'm just gonna let him. I'm gonna let him have it.
So I don't think I've ever told you this, my perspective on that, and as it relates to one of the kids. So I'm standing there, and this was after we should have gotten the 2-point conversion. So this was, I think that was when you got more upset.
Was it Adrian that had the 2-point conversion, or was it Dylan?
No,
It was Dylan.
it was
It was Dylan?
Dylan
Okay,
again.
okay.
Because
What it was is it wasn't a fumble. He was stopped short, is what the guy said, and the ball clearly broke the.
It broke the plane.
Okay, I knew it was something.
Because
like that.
you came down the sideline. I'm standing away. I'm standing back with Hawk because he's calling it, and I'm standing there helping Courtney signal it in. And you come at us. I believe it's when you said you turned away, and he grabbed his flag. I think that's where I pick up in my memory.
Okay.
Because you're walking at me on the sideline because I'm down here. Everybody else is down here on the field. If this is the end zone.
I do remember passing you and saying something.
Well, but you were mostly like, if you're me and I'm headed straight towards this camera right here, I'm headed here, and you're me, and this is the sideline line down the field. You're walking. You're doing this. You're intense. You're so passionate about the team and what's just happened, and you're just da-da-da-da. And I'm standing next to Hawk, and then I really understood how bad it was, but I didn't understand. I understood it was bad. I didn't understand how bad until I saw you and I saw your face, and I said, okay, I need to go find out what's actually happened, because I thought, okay, great, 2-point conversion, he crossed the plane, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's when I actually go down and discover that, no, they didn't call it. Mm-hmm. And I understood your frustration. And a kid standing next to me, and I'm not going to say his name because he's a senior. But anyway, you should know who I'm talking about. He said, "Man, old brother Jay, he got pretty upset, didn't he?" I said, "Yes, insert name. Yes, he did, and he deservingly got upset. We're all upset." He said, "Man, I love it. I love it. Brother Jay's getting upset. He's not he's not being mean about it. He's not being a butthole about it. But he wants us to do good. He's fighting for us, and I'm going to fight for Brother Jay." And I said, "Awesome, son. That's what I like to hear."
That's
I don't know
it.
if I've ever told you that.
No, you haven't. But, and again, I'm not trying to make it sound better than it was. I lost my temper. But really, the root of that was what I felt like was an unfair call against our team. And different guys have different ways of approaching it. But when I was involved with a group of young men, I was for them all the way. And it didn't. I mean, honestly, it got to a point where, as big of a college football fan as I am and always will be, it meant more to me. Friday nights meant more to me than Saturdays, because I knew those kids, I knew those coaches, I knew those guys and the struggle they had. And I get emotional now thinking about it, because it did matter. And it's one of those things where. And I get it. It's just a game. okay, in a sense, but it's not. You got lives involved in that. You got families that, you know, I mean, let's be honest. We live in Alabama. If you're a head coach, you don't win.
Yeah.
They don't keep you around long. So
No.
I because I wanted our guys to be successful, and I knew what kind of kids we had, you know, and so especially, you know, it's kind of funny because Dylan was one of those kids that he would kind of push the line sometimes, and maybe even cross it every now and then. But I thought, hey, this time he didn't, so let's don't flag this kid for something he didn't do.
It's okay to get fired up every now and then.
Yeah,
that's all right. I chew my students out, all of them, once every 9 weeks, whether they need it or not. That's all.
That's right, because there's probably something they didn't get chewed out for that they got away with.
They see it every now and then.
That's right.
Yeah. But I thought that was really cool because I remember thinking to myself, man, if they throw Jay Stewart out of this game, how am I going to react?
It's on
and then obviously because I care. I mean, you know, I'm trying to be funny. This is a podcast, whatever. I really did care about Jay. You know, I'd known Jay at that point for 7 years, and I'm like, okay, but I've got these kids that I've got to set an example for as well.
Yeah.
So, but I hear the same kid, and not just him though, several others. Okay, all of which are still on the team. Say, if they throw Brother Jay out, we're going to.
Oh wow. Now we don't have time probably to go down this rabbit hole, but you know, as mad as I was that night, it actually wasn't the maddest that I had ever been at a Nashville sporting event.
Really? Do I know?
State track meet.
Yes, I think I do know this story.
The 4x4 team.
Yeah.
I won't tell the whole story, but our team we got DQ'd.
Yeah.
For something that was probably by the letter of the law right, but it was the most ridiculous thing. Our 4x4 team had the first leg had gone out of her lane after she had already handed the baton off and never touched anybody. Never really interfered with somebody. The last place team in the 4x4 at state meet would have had about a 1/2 of a second faster last place time. That's how inconsequential this was. We got third place, but we were DQ'd for that athlete going across the line. Now, you know, the thing that got me, we're over there celebrating. We're literally about to walk on the podium. They're about to step up on him, and they stopped him. And I'm like, why are we stopping here? And at that point, I was one of the coaches. Coach had brought me on there to Coach Rogers had brought me on to help me and Wayne Knight, and so we were, you know, I was one of the coaches, and I'm
Newman,
huh?
Newman.
Yes. Newman. So we had tried to get an explanation, and the head official, he never said it. He backed up his official, which is what you would expect him to do, because he didn't really see it. But in my interpretation of what happened, I think he felt like it was a bad call too, but he didn't see it, so he couldn't overrule it. So he wasn't going to make calls. So, you know, it was one of those things by the letter of the law. I give it this kind of an explanation. We got a speeding ticket for going 56 in a 55. Sure. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Where did we finish in that?
Well, we got DQ'd on that
so
one. We got no finish.
Okay.
So there's a team right now with a third place medal that's ours. I mean, I told those girls, I said, y'all, it was on the board. Everybody saw it. We know we won. We got that third place. Now, they did win state that year in the 4x8, so that took a little of the sting out of it. But
well, I mean, look, at any point you want to go O.J. Simpson and go get those medals back, we
go
can.
get them back. Oh, I'm glad that's the part of the O.J. Simpson that we're referring to. Yes.
We would have need Callie's class to get away with that.
Yeah, see, there we go. Callie's class might be the
we got to incorporate all them in that.
Yeah, exactly. We do write this show. That joke was written like 8 months ago for this interview. We know we got to wrap up, but real quick before we get into our recommendations, the floor is yours if you want to talk about, like, tell us what you're doing now, like what you're involved in now. You're no longer, I'm not going to say you're no longer my pastor, because, I mean, you will always be somebody that I look to that when I'm talking about my walk with God. But you're not at First Baptist Asheville anymore.
That's right. So we have made a transition. Candy and I and our family have made a transition in ministry where I am on staff now with the Alabama State Board of Missions. And for those of you that may not, understand how Baptist churches work, particularly Southern Baptist churches, each Southern Baptist church is autonomous. You go to Cool Springs, and you guys, First Baptist, and I don't know, you visited First Baptist. I don't know if you attend there, but they all do what they want as far as missions and ministry and how they want to do it. But we also believe in cooperation. And so the idea is that we can do more together than we can do separately. And so there, almost 100 years ago, in fact, it began in 1925, Southern Baptists came up with what they called the cooperative program. The cooperative program is essentially a means by which Southern Baptists fund ministries, because it takes money to send a missionary to China. It takes money to have a University of Mobile, which is a Baptist college here in Alabama. It takes money to have a children's home here in Alabama, which does orphan and other types of care like that for families. All those things need funding, and so the cooperative program is the way we do that collectively or cooperatively, obviously. And so those monies are put in one kind of central place, and then divided up between the International Mission Board, the North American Mission Board, the seminaries, which I went to New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. That helped pay for half my tuition. It was like a half tuition scholarship, basically. Again, University of Mobile, and on and on. Disaster relief. Back when the tornadoes came through St. Clair County and Alabama and other places, Southern Baptist Disaster Relief is the second largest disaster relief organization in the world behind Red Cross. Most people probably don't realize that. But when churches like First Baptist and Cool Springs and you could go down the list of big churches, like Shades Mountain in Birmingham, to little small churches like ours that I just mentioned, we all collectively pool our money together. And so my role is the director of the Office of Cooperative Program and Church Financial Resources here in Alabama. So my role really is to be an advocate for missions and ministry in our state and, of course, around the world, but primarily through our state. So I will have an opportunity to travel the state some, be in churches, talk with pastors, help educate folks on exactly what the cooperative program is, what it does, why it exists. It will, like I said, be 100 years old coming up here in 25. We're actually planning a real big celebration. It began in Memphis, is where it was started, and so we're working now toward a 100th anniversary celebration for that. So this role is going to have me obviously not be in the local church, but the good news is, and the cool thing, because First Baptist, where I came from, is a church that believes in the cooperative program and supports missions through the cooperative program, they actually are helping my ministry, and they're one of, quote, my churches, so to speak. I would come and speak there, or just get to know the new pastor when he comes, and to be a resource for the churches in any way I can, and hopefully encourage them, and whatever way I can help.
That's awesome.
What is it, the 100th anniversary of?
The cooperative program.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Not 2025.
Yep, 2025. Yeah, see, what happened basically back then, you would have people come to churches and ask for direct support. And so you'd have somebody from what they used to call it the Foreign Mission Board. So you'd have missionary that they're trying to support missionaries in Thailand or Africa or South America or wherever, and they need money, right, to be able to stay there, to have the things that they need in those countries. And so they would come and ask for money. And then you would have the seminary come and say, well, we need money too. And then you'd have the children's home come. They need money. And you'd have all these different organizations, and essentially they were competing for the money. And so what they did is they said, hey, let's stop competing with one another. Let's all work together. And the big churches and the small churches can all participate. And really it's a biblical model of sharing. And it really is a neat thing. I think a lot of folks in Southern Baptist life really don't know exactly what the cooperative program even is. And so that's part of my job. In fact, it's kind of cool. You asked me to come on this and have a chance to tell that and to talk about what I'm doing, because from a technical standpoint, I'm doing my job right now, telling folks what the cooperative program is and how great it is. I went back and found some archived things that I had written for the for the Alabama Baptist newspaper. They would send out a notice every year. If you have any cooperative program stories, share those. If you would like to write a small article, why I believe in the cooperative program, and I had done that 3 or 4 times through the years, where I'd written why I believe in the cooperative program. So I don't say that I believe in it because I have a job doing that now. It's kind of the other way around. And so God opened that door. It was a hard decision to think about leaving First Baptist Asheville as their pastor, because this is home, y'all. This town and these folks here. It's an awesome place. If you're listening to this podcast and never driven through Asheville, drive up I-59 from Birmingham toward Chattanooga and stop off and go get you some good barbecue or some Mexican
and don't blink.
You will miss it. It's not the biggest place in the world. And I mentioned this off the air. I'm looking forward to getting to know pastors of little towns that you don't find on the map.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love all our churches. I would like to be in them all. There's like 3,250 Alabama Baptist churches in our state. And by the way, just as a brag on the state of Alabama and our Southern Baptist churches, because we like to win. So, Alabama has been for I don't know how many years in a row the #1 cooperative program giving state in all the conventions. That's including
Really?
Florida and Texas and Georgia, states with a lot bigger populations. But folks in Alabama are generous. They really are.
That's pretty huge when you think about Texas.
It is. One little disclaimer, I guess I should put on that. Texas actually has 2 state conventions, so that they kind of that divides their money. So that helps us a little bit in that. But still, I mean, if
how many Alabamas could you fit in 10? I mean,
several.
That's too much math.
Yeah, that's a lot of math there.
Seriously, what is the population of Alabama?
4 million.
Yeah, I was going to say 4, maybe 5 million.
Just
Texas
shy
is
of 5.
probably like
25 million.
there's 6 million just in Houston alone.
Yeah. Yes.
Like
Yeah,
if you look at the triangle,
they could
that's
have
like
5
triple R.
conventions and
Yeah.
still be bigger than
250,000.
He's speaking numbers. I don't know.
You just shouting out numbers.
Yeah. So you got anything coming up you want to share, like within the immediate future? Or are you just looking forward to hanging out? What do you got?
Well,
in the works?
really, what I'm trying to do right now is introduce myself to churches and pastors. I know a lot of folks in North Alabama just from doing years of ministry and stuff. You go south of Birmingham, Pelham, some of them around in there, I start not really knowing. Actually, was at First Baptist Tallahassee.
I saw that. Yeah, how'd that go?
Great folks, man.
Yeah.
I tell you, we had
Tallahassee, I like that town.
I do
Been
too.
in there a few
It's a
times.
great place.
It really is.
The Tallahassee Tigers.
Yes, and we went to a great Mexican restaurant over there. I'm not really sure what the name of that place was. I've got to look that up and send them a thank you note. Their youth pastor there took me to eat over there, and he mentioned something about mushrooms, and they had this special mushroom dish, it's like a side kind of thing, and I got those, and of course, my usual, Mexican fare there. But anyway, but great folks, great church, and there'll be some opportunities for me to to be in churches and preach like that, and so I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of new folks.
That is awesome. Do you have any? I don't know. Do you listen to the podcast?
I've listened to some of it. I haven't listened. I'm not a big podcast guy.
Okay.
But
we got to change that.
I
Yeah,
am
we do.
changing that. Candy's got me listening to the Jordan Peterson podcast some, and
He's got some stuff coming out on the Daily Wire Plus. Daily Wire just released not a sponsor, Daily Wire Plus network, and he's got some stuff coming out on there that looks pretty good, actually.
yeah, I've listened to that some. I'm trying to think of the some of the ones I've picked up on. I've listened to that Rick and Bubba one a little bit that they have, and I don't know. There's a few.
Talk or Go Home too.
Talk or Go Home. Yes, absolutely. You guys, y'all
We're
got
number one.
Y'all got a cool thing going here. It's fun. I like the vibe, man.
Willie and Wanda. You ever listen to that? You ever listen to Willie and Wanda?
I have not.
What?
You had
From Rick and Bubba?
I know the story of Willie and Wanda. I thought
I may recommend that.
I thought they had
heard it.
a podcast. No, I've heard Willie and Wanda's story.
No, that's
No, that's
a good one right there.
that's a R&B classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I knew Rick and Bubba when they were at GAD over in Gadsden.
Yes.
So I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, you used to do a little radio work.
I did
Back in the day.
I did. Believe it or not. That's for
I don't want to talk about
yeah. That's for another time. But no, I was listening to Rick before Bubba even came on the show.
Yeah.
Back when he used to.
Yeah.
Because I was
Because
commuting
Bubba
to
was
Jacksonville State.
Yeah, Bubba was a guest.
He was the engineer,
Yeah.
and he'd come in as a special guest back
Right.
in those days. And so Anyway,
They've come a long
Now,
way.
we've told
they
some
have.
pretty good stories on here, but that wasn't one. That may have been the funniest thing I've ever heard in my whole life.
it's funny.
I listened to it. He made me listen to it one day. We were sitting at lunch talking.
Well, it's
He's
like a 2-hour story. The
and
way
he-
they tell it, and keep,
Yeah.
and keep
About 40
laughing.
minutes, I think.
Hey.
I was trying to deer hunt today. I was listening to it.
We were sitting. It was before COVID, so we were sitting at the lunch table together like we used to do in the lunchroom. And he said, "Dude," he made a reference to it. Nah, it went over my head. And so he said, "You need to go listen to it. Go listen to it." So that's my dad.
That's not great. That's not a great invitation.
Hey, wait now. That's my.
That's getting close.
How was
They're
that?
good.
That's good. All right. But no, so I went and listened to it. I about died because I'm listening to it, but I'm thinking about him listening to it, and it makes me laugh even more thinking about him laughing at it.
Yeah.
So y'all go
Good.
check it out. It's pretty cool. But let's go ahead and let's get into our recommendations. You want to start us off?
Well, I know this guy's not a Baptist preacher, but I mentioned him on a Triple Threat episode we did. Harry Reeder, that's at Briarwood Presbyterian.
Yes.
Not at Harry Reid.
Harry Reeder, I like him real good. He's got a like a 5-minute devotional podcast. Fresh Bread, I think. Yeah, Fresh Bread. I hadn't listened to it much this summer, but I usually listen to it every morning on my drive to work because it was perfect for me to listen to on the drive. So, like 5 minutes. So it only take me like 7 minutes to get to work.
He's also got a
drive.
even shorter one called In Touch, where he
Yeah.
does about a 15-second or 30-second one, and it comes on about 5-something in the morning when I hear it.
Yeah.
In Touch.
In
How about
Touch.
that?
In Touch. With
Well, I
Harry-
like him
with
real
Harry
good. He's a
Reeder.
historian. He's Civil
Sharp
War.
guy.
Yeah.
Sharp guy.
Robert E. Lee and Jackson, anything you want to know about those two. And he used to lead those tours up into those Civil War Christian character tours.
Well, as
I
time
always
goes
wanted to go on
along,
one of those.
I'm going to be working on doing a podcast through the State Board of Missions and highlighting the ministries that we do. Dr. Rick Lance is our state executive director,
I've heard of him.
and he is a history buff. Civil War and World War II, I think, are his wheelhouse. So
Nice.
I'd love to talk to Dr. Lance about World War II.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
We
he's-
need to convert Reeder over because I know him
He's
and his
Presbyterian.
dad up in North Carolina. I know, but I never heard anything he said that I disagreed with. But him and his dad used to set up like who's the guy in North Carolina, the minister?
Billy Graham.
Yeah, they used to set those up for
Yeah.
his crusades when he
Right.
first started. They used to set those up in North Carolina for him, and I think they went to his church. He was a pastor of a church, but he was not good as a pastor. So that's when he started.
We're talking
doing
about
the
Billy
crus-
Graham.
Yeah, Billy Graham. He wasn't good as a pastor.
That's
You know,
interesting.
I've heard Reeder talk about that.
I've learned a couple of things tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
He do real good as his church.
Go ahead.
I want you to go next.
Okay, I mean, I can go.
Do it.
I got to get out my phone and find it. Jonathan Mincy. Jonathan, I will get back to you in a moment. Good sir, I've got to get to my recommendations. Shout out to Jonathan Mincy. He's a regular listener.
Is he?
Was
Sort of.
he the one that came up with Swallowstein, by the way?
That was Shay.
I believe it was me. I believe it was Mincy.
Was it really?
I believe it was.
I said that today, actually, after workouts.
Well,
we were talking
we
about,
need to move
about
on.
you.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
to move on. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Kevin used to say it all the time.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not.
through.
That's not. That's not what I meant. God, we're gonna have to edit this. Dang. Okay.
There's inside thoughts and outside thoughts.
Yes, and I'm not.
It was an
I'm
inside
thought
came out.
that came
I'm
out.
not. I'm not good. Okay, I'm realizing I can't recommend that with Jay on here. All right, Phineas and Ferb. I recommend Phineas and Ferb.
Thank you for editing on the fly.
It was a song.
Summer vacation.
It was. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Phineas and Ferb on Disney Channel. Check it out. It's actually for adults and kids, or for me and kids. Go ahead,
Perry the Platypus. I'm a fan.
Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Yep. What is it? Doofenshmirtz.
Evil Incorporated.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're
Not a
talking
sp-
about.
not a
I don't
sponsor.
either. David,
All right, so I have plugged this the last couple of days on Facebook and Twitter and Ham and Spam and all that kind of good stuff. There was a new video game just released called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. It is 100% retro, even though it is brand new.
16-bit.
Yeah, very, very 16-bit. You were there, but not there because we ended up watching Star Wars. Yeah, why don't you make that your recommendation?
What do you mean we ended up watching Star Wars?
We ended up watching Star Wars. You were there.
Oh, I thought you meant a movie. No, we ended up watching
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, because you were
Kenobi.
catching up. But
Yeah, and that I thoroughly enjoyed that experience, by the way.
anyway, old school beat 'em up to 6 players. Highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Just like the old cartoons. Pure nostalgia.
It looked like I was having fun watching you.
Yeah.
Having fun.
They've taught me into watching and doing a lot of stuff since I've been on. And I watched that 3rd Batman movie y'all told me to watch the other night. Boy, I was so lost. The Rise of the Dark Knight or whatever. But go ahead.
The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Do you like that?
Oh, I
The
do.
right serious.
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 You like it, Candy? Yeah, she's
Well,
a fan. She's a fan.
I just need somebody to sit beside me and just explain it.
You adopted the night.
Why so serious?
Why were they down in that cave thing for 3 months? How'd that happen?
He's a bat.
No, don't. We've already tried,
Yeah.
man. He thinks
He's a bat, man. Come on.
All right.
Well, he thought Batman got bit by bats. And
And
that's
got
why
bat
he's Batman.
Are we
powers.
going to do this right now?
I don't know.
No.
right,
Keep-
Hey, can I
let's go
make a
ahead.
recommendation?
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
please.
Yeah, we were going to send it to
Yeah.
you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, so I got a book recommendation. Can we? Is
Awesome.
that allowed?
No, we need somebody to sound
Yes,
intellectual.
please.
No. So Willie McLaurin is one of the guys that's one of the leaders in our convention. He has a new book called The Winning Way.
The Winning Way.
It's a very short book. It would be good for.
What are you trying to say?
Well, no. I'm trying to say it's for anybody
Yeah.
that even if you're not a reader, not looking at you guys, looking at anybody out there that might be.
So even us 3 could read it.
No, that's not what I. That's not
No,
what
we
I was
can't. He
insinuating.
literally just
Hey,
answered.
now,
no,
I got the
no, you
Baptist
can't.
Catechism at my house right now.
So that even I could read it is what I was going to get at. The person who admitted on here that didn't read much in high
He's
school.
at a point.
So anyway, The Winning Way, Willie McLaurin,
Willie McLaurin.
McLaurin.
Yeah, so those notes, those were 2 stories that he and I talked about that I don't think we're going to have time to bring in because they're very long stories.
Okay.
The Winning Way. Where can
Winning-
you get this book at?
You go to his website,
Amazon.
look up
The bookstore.
Look, I tell you what, I'll give you a copy of it.
Boom. How about that?
You sign it?
No, I'm not going to sign it. I didn't.
No,
I didn't.
you got to say I'm giving this to you and
Okay.
write something.
I'll
in
do
there
that.
Nice.
Per my recommendation.
I will
and
do that.
sign
With
it.
much love.
I will do that.
Willie McLaurin. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay, I don't know if you've ever recognized this. You see that over there?
I see that, but I can't even come close to reading
That
it.
is the season 2 outline of our first Dog Talk episode of season 2 that we all signed.
Oh, cool.
That I don't know if you ever noticed
I
that,
did
that was
not
actually
notice.
framed and put up
I
over
did
there.
not notice that.
But that's got your signature on it.
That's cool. Well, the wall out there does too, I think.
Yeah, it does. The wall does too. And
With the
you know,
bathroom wall? What are you talking about? Isn't that-
Not the bathroom.
You ought to go in the
hall-
bathroom down there.
The hallway. It depends on when the last time somebody had been in there. But anyway,
Yeah. What was that? What was that? Something about murder?
Red rum.
Murder Among the Mormons?
Murder? What?
What? You ever watch that
No.
on Netflix? You ever seen it?
yes, I have.
Have you?
Yes. Yes, if it's a murder,
Oh, did y'all watch that?
documentary, if it's a murder documentary on Netflix and it's
Yeah.
any good, we've watched it.
Did y'all remember that happening? That was
I
in the 80s.
did not.
Me either.
It
I don't
was-
remember that.
But did you watch the one where the guy was driving the big, the earth mover thing that he fortified?
the killdozer.
Killed the
Yeah, I watched that.
killdozer ran over the whole
That's
town.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's a
No, that
recommendation.
was
Yeah, it is.
Amy, and I think I recommended that.
I think
Amy
you
and
did.
the Heckmans. I saw it on Facebook one night. They put it, so I watched it. It was good, but that Murder Among the Mormons, man, that just it proves. They don't
Look,
know
I always thought
They don't know what-
that if
Go ahead.
I always thought that if my dad went crazy, that's what he'd do. He'd weld up, a bunch of steel in a bulldozer and just
Keep
go on a
sweet.
tirade.
Keep Sweet and what was it, Candy? Keep Sweet. There's another fundamentalist Mormon thing out right now.
Salamander?
No, it's called Keep.
Led him to a sledder? How does that happen?
Yes. Yes. The magic salamander. I
And
know.
then you gonna pay millions of dollars to buy this letter? That
I know.
proved a lot to me.
Yeah.
Salamander?
With a question
Now there's your
mark?
TikTok
You're-
highlight right there.
That's
Your
the name of this episode.
historical
Salamander.
text
Question
of your
mark.
faith was you were led to it by a salamander. The salamander
Was
letter.
it an albino salamander?
I think so.
I
The
think it
salamander letter.
Speaking
How
of
does
that,
that-
speaking of that, I mean, BYU's joining the Big 12 here soon. How about that?
Well, did you see that UCLA
Well, they don't play
and
defense
USC
either.
are joining the Big 12? I mean, the Big 12.
Who?
Did you not hear that news?
Yes.
USC and UCLA are leaving the Pac-12
Well,
When?
there it goes.
When was that
It's
announced? Today?
today.
Yes,
That
yes,
announced
announced
this
today.
afternoon.
Well, we're dating this episode. Wow. That is insane.
That is insane.
It's because that new commissioner they hired, that Jay-Z executive.
What was that other one you said to watch besides Murder
It's
Movie?
called Keep Sweet something.
What about Wild Wild Country? Did you watch that?
Yeah,
That's-
Did
Wow.
you? Did
I
you
can't
y'all
put that
remember
on my recommendation list because that gets
Wow.
rough. But
Did
Yeah, it
y'all
does.
remember that happened
that
either?
is some
I don't remember
wild
that either.
stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Y'all, these cults and stuff get going. I
It's
don't understand
crazy.
all that.
So I need to do a
To this
study.
day, I will
What?
not drink Kool-Aid. I'm just
No,
saying.
the Jones
Well, you need to know what's going on. I wish I understood all those different groups.
I'm just
I mean,
kidding.
man,
I love
Batman.
Purple
Keep-
Source
it
Rex.
starts with Keep Sweet. If you type in on the search
what
on
about Matty
Netflix,
Joe?
Keep Sweet or Stay Sweet, it's either Stay Sweet or Keep Sweet.
Well, there could be a lot of difference in that.
Well,
You got to be careful what you're typing in these days.
yeah,
Keep sweet, stay sweet.
something like that.
Little sweet.
Yes. Not a Dr. Pepper commercial.
Not a
when I-
sponsor.
Dr. Lance, if you're listening to this, we
apologize.
Jay,
Yeah, I'm not gonna
is
recommend it.
amazing. Okay, like do not.
I do want to keep
Don't
my
judge
job.
him
yeah,
based on our
yeah,
podcast.
Yeah, he's
The
He's in his
thoughts and
comfort
opinions
zone.
are not necessarily those.
exactly. Jay's trying to help us. Okay, just remember
In
that.
touch. Keep sweet. The winning way. All right.
Okay.
Am I getting this book today? Or you
It
mailing
might,
it?
it might be tomorrow. You be here at the school tomorrow? Almost said
No.
here at the church. I left it at the house. I meant to bring y'all all a copy of it.
If I'll be here tomorrow. If you want to drop it off with me, I can get it to him.
I can drop it off tomorrow.
Let me tell you what to write in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put it
right-
on.
About,
write it down.
educating your kids and everything.
Yeah.
Thank you and all.
Yeah.
Be sure to include all that.
He says it
will.
with a straight face.
Yeah, he
That's
means
because
it.
he's serious.
Yeah, he's serious. 100%.
Best teacher.
I'll lay a extra thing of dill pickle.
Candy,
Deal
when did you
paper
graduate?
chip.
When'd you graduate?
1989.
You graduated with him?
from Southside,
What?
same year.
Okay. Yeah. So how did we not know that? So you're all the same.
They graduated way back in the 80s. I'm not. That
You're
old.
90.
I was 90s.
See, I went to school. I always get confused because I went to school with a Candy Stewart.
Right, different
That's-
candy
Yeah,
store.
it's
that's
not her.
different. Now she's not a Stewart now, but
She was, because that's not your maiden name.
Bowling.
Yeah, that's your maiden name. So you.
Well, that's how
and-
that works.
most places. That's how
I'm
that
getting a
works.
look.
In the Southern Baptist Convention.
I'm not gonna
Now,
win.
why are we
I
the
can't believe I
Southern
gotta host this
Baptist?
thing. Oh,
How did
can I
that
s-
happen?
How did that happen?
Yeah.
You want to?
Dude, hold on. This is what my history professor at Auburn told
Had
us.
this to
Tell
do
me
with
if it's
Civil
wrong.
War?
Yes.
Okay, they were preaching against the Southern. Okay.
Yeah, and they
I
split.
taught you that.
Dr. No taught. Well, if you did, I didn't remember.
Dr. No?
Wow. Dr. No.
Dr. No.
N-O-E.
Oh, okay.
Because after the
Kenneth,
war,
no.
after the war, what happened after the war? After the Civil War, war between the states.
What happened after the war between the states?
No, with the preachers,
Oh,
the
The
Baptists.
13th
happened.
Amendment.
with the Baptists and everything. What happened? Tell us.
I don't know. They praised the Lord. I don't know. What happened?
No, why are we the Southern Baptists?
Well, the name there are multiple Baptist groups. There's the North American Baptists, I think, or American Baptists, and I'm gonna have to. I'm not going to remember all their names, but there is a connection long ago. That, by the way, there have been multiple resolutions. When we have our convention, we'll do resolutions apologizing and like. You know,
Apologize for that.
no, seriously, seriously. In the very beginning, there were missionaries that had slaves.
Yeah.
So you had that whole deal going on with the North and the South, and so that's where there was a delineation there. Of course, all those things have been disavowed through the years multiple times, and we had Southern Baptist Convention actually out in Anaheim, California. We've got Southern Baptist churches all over the world, literally. Of every ethnic denomination or ethnic background and all that kind of stuff. So it's come a long way since the beginning. But that is actually where some of the
Yeah, I saw y'all on Facebook all over the place out in California. The
we
baseball
were.
game.
We went to the base. We went to a Dodgers game.
Yeah.
I have one question. So I look. You wrote down all of his recommendations, didn't you?
He never writes on.
I never. What? No, I
You,
didn't.
you didn't write my
He
recommendation.
never writes on.
This is a video game. I'm not going to
Well,
play
there's
a video
nothing wrong
game.
with that.
Look,
Do you own a video game system that's
No.
yours? See,
No.
Therein lies.
But still,
No,
It's a little bit of a barrier.
You got to
can-
understand.
you can watch a YouTube video on
You
it and
know
say, you know
what?
what, this looks pretty fun.
I would go outside and play football when I was growing up, still play video game by myself. Throw the ball to myself. I'd run through weeds and vines trying to break tackles playing football. I didn't play video game.
I hear you, Tarzan.
So we love each other. I know you probably can't tell that, but we do.
Hey, what is that? Is this still recording?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Ignore that.
I hope that's.
I hope it's still recording.
Okay.
We'll find out. I think that's how you spell salamander. Jay, we appreciate you coming on, man. We really, really do.
I appreciate the opportunity. I really do.
Well, I'm just thankful that you and Candy allowed yourselves to be subjugated to our humor and torturous behavior. So, but seriously, you know, for me personally, I do hate that you're moving off and that I won't get to just randomly see you and have lunch with you at Skips or at Micasitas and all that good stuff. And
You just got to travel to
sit and
Montgomery.
talk
You'll be
and-
fine.
yeah, and I might just do that. I might literally show up at his office and, hey.
Come on down.
The only thing is, to be there by lunchtime, you got to leave here by like 8.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
It's about a 2-hour drive.
I think I can do that.
You
I
can
think
make
I
it an
do
hour
that.
and 45.
Yeah.
92,
Exactly.
92
Yeah, going
miles.
But if we come down there, where are we eating lunch at?
That's the question.
Wherever we want.
Well,
Hey, we can eat at that place that James Spann recommended. That would only be like 30 minutes from there.
Yeah.
From there.
I was thinking about Dreamland. Go ahead.
Oh, well, you can get it.
Los Toros or something like that's where I've been going. That's
Not a sponsor.
I'm
Not a
sure there's a
sponsor.
Chipotle down there somewhere. So
there
that'd be
is.
Yeah. But no, we really do appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on. We know you got a lot of stuff going on. And in all seriousness, it's been fun. We've had fun. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Candy, for coming in,
Thank
hanging
you
out
for
with
having
us.
me.
Yeah. We can tell you're in summer mode right now.
Absolutely.
You got the summer mode going on. Have you been fishing lately?
I have not. That's one thing I've missed lately. I've been traveling, work back and forth, and trying to get a house sold and all that kind of stuff. Hadn't
You
picked
got to
up
find you a
fishing.
pond down there.
We did go a couple weeks back here locally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to find some places to fish. That's
Yeah.
pretty high on the priority list.
Go find you an old farmer.
That's
Yeah.
it.
There you go.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Not
Exactly.
in name, but in occupation.
You know what
Yes.
we could do? We could go down there and play RTJ down there with him.
Okay.
Not far from us.
Yeah. It's right there on the Alabama River.
I don't get close to them golf courses no more. Go ahead.
There's his other triple threat.
Oh,
There's his other triple threat.
gosh, I can't believe he said
that of his own
free will.
Can't either.
All right, we got to end this episode. It's getting deep in here. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget you can subscribe to all of our bonus episodes in Triple Threat for 99 cents a month. The link is in
Couch
the show notes.
change.
If you look at our TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. Check us out. That's where we update stuff and post behind-the-scenes photos. We'll actually be taking some photos here in a second, some videos once we stop recording. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you viewing. Seriously, this really is awesome. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review the podcast on any platform that you're listening on. Check us out. Spread the word via mouth. It really does help the podcast. We do appreciate it, guys. But don't forget, you can talk
Or go home.
I wonder if they ever made any
I'm
pork skins.
disappointed, David. Come on, man.
I wonder if they ever made any pork skins with that wow pork skins with old Lester in them.
Hey,
Did
listen.
they ever make any with old Lester?
I got an old Lester story.
Oh, please save it. Yeah,
I
hold
don't
it.
need.
you eat
I
the-
tried to hold it, but I couldn't.
Did you eat the whole bag thinking it was okay?
Yes.
We've already
I
discussed that.
I found out the hard way that you
Ooh.
didn't need to eat more than 3 or 4 of them things. Yes.
And they were called wild chips.
Yeah,
right?
wow.
Wow, what a
Wow,
chip, yeah.
what a chip.
Yeah.